Hi guys and welcome to A.F.C. Curtis. I'm your host Curtis, and on today's episode I'll be giving you my 10 reasons why the Canadian Premier League should not have playoffs and instead just focus on having a single table format for the league, with the team with the most points who finishes in first place winning the league title. I think that's how it should be and how it should go. Before I get to the 10 reasons, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more content just like this, maybe consider hitting that red subscribe button. And of course, if you hit that little notification bell beside the subscribe button, you actually get notified each and every week when I drop a brand new episode just like this one. So now let's get started. Now, reason number one is that there is only 7 teams in the league, at least in the inaugural season in 2019. So it's going to look a little silly if we have a playoff format with a league that has 7 clubs in it. The way they would probably do it is the top 6 teams would make the playoffs, and the 7th and last place team obviously doesn't make it. And with that, of course, seed 1 and 2 probably get a bye to the second round. So that's how I would see them, if they did have a playoff format, how I'd see it go down. I don't think that we should, though, because it is only 7 teams. It just looks weird for a small league like that to have playoffs, so I think we should scrap it in general. And the team with the most points at the end of the regular season wins the league and wins the league title. I think that's fine. Number 2, follow the success of European leagues. Now, what I mean by this is the Canadian Premier League should have a single table format, because that is just how it is pretty much everywhere else in the world, especially in Europe. And who mostly follows European soccer? Most soccer fans. So if the Canadian Premier League in Canada or in the world is going to win over those soccer fans, I believe they should have it nice and simple for them. They should have a single table format, something that most soccer fans are used to, so they can just transition easily from the EPL or La Liga or Serie A right into the Canadian Premier League and automatically know how a champion is determined. Number 3 is attract players. Now, what I mean by this is I believe the league, using a single table format, could even attract players to come over, or homegrown players even, to make the choice to come and play in the Canadian Premier League versus maybe playing anywhere else, just because they're used to that system and that format of a league where they grew up watching and supporting a club that has the same kind of league as the Canadian Premier League, where you kind of already know going into it how your team will win a championship, versus the uncertainty of possibly making the playoffs or not making the playoffs. And then once you make the playoffs, you have to be successful and make it through all 3 or 4 rounds of the playoffs to even win a championship. So I think this makes it nice and simple for players, and that's what players would like, is to be able to transition from possibly playing in Europe or South America, where it's a single table league, to coming to Canada, where there's again a single table league, and I already know going into it how to be successful. Point number 4, don't follow the MLS's lead. Now, what I mean by that is don't do what the MLS has done, and that is have playoffs. It doesn't get you any global respect for soccer fans all around the world. And if the Canadian Premier League wants to expand their market, expand into other territories, have TV deals in other countries like they have stated in the past, they need to do a single table format with no playoffs. Most soccer fans are just used to that. I would say probably like 80 to 90% of them are used to that, and that's what they want to see, and that's what they like to see in their leagues. So when you have a league like the MLS, which kind of, has a lot of negativity toward them outside of Canada and the US, and even in Canada and the US, a lot of people just neglect the league. They joke about the league all the time, just because maybe, yeah, of course, maybe they have older players, stars coming over for big money, but also I think a huge part of that is their format, having a regular season and then the playoffs. Didn't get them much respect, so don't do what the MLS has done. So hopefully the Canadian Premier League just sticks to that single table format, because that is the way to go, and that's the way they'll get respect in a global market. Point 5, American interest. Now, I think this one is kind of helps the business aspect of the Canadian Premier League. I think by having a single table format, that makes the Canadian Premier League kind of a really good league for Americans to follow, because it's kind of in between the MLS and European leagues. It's not really, it's kind of a mixture of both, to be honest with you, together. It's kind of like adding MLS players and the MLS time zones and whatnot into a Premier League type situation, because there's going to be a single format. It's going to be similar to what you're used to if you follow European leagues, and therefore could eventually lead to even American viewership going up, because they are going to want to expand in the US markets with TV and beyond. because it's just a smart business move. There's so many American soccer fans, and those are extra dollars that can roll in the future, and therefore once you get them, you can even get their American sponsorships, which again will add to more money for Canadian Premier League as a league, as well as for all the clubs individually and the players. So it's a win-win for everybody if they're able to get into the American market by cracking those Americans and getting them onto the Canadian Premier League side. So I think by having a single table format, they're able to make themselves unique and different from the MLS, and therefore attract American attention. Number 6, don't scare off the hardcore fan. Now, if you're watching this video, chances are you're probably a hardcore soccer fan, and that's why you found my channel, and I really appreciate you watching this video. But it's people like you and I that are the ones that are the lifeblood of the Canadian Premier League and of all their clubs. All their supporters in the supporter section are hardcore fans. Those are the people who are buying the season tickets, who are buying the scarves, the jerseys, who are following their clubs from beginning to end because they love the league and they love soccer. And if we have a league that's more like playoff style, like the MLS, we might lose those fans because people in Canada, soccer fans in Canada, the hardcore fans, they most likely follow a club in Europe or South America because their roots are ingrained. I'm Ukrainian, so I have European roots and I follow European soccer because it's just something that my family from generation has done. And so we're all just used to having a single table format league to follow, and whoever first place in the regular season is the champion. So I think that's why the Canadian Premier League needs to kind of copy that, because it will attract the hardcore fans. They're already the Manchester United fans, the Liverpool fans, the Barcelona fans. They know what the league, the Canadian Premier League should be, and that is a single table format, because that's what will draw and attract the hardcore fans, and those hardcore fans are the ones day in and day out will support the league through thick and thin. And that's why the MLS has kind of had some bumpy starts in their early days, because they didn't attract the hardcore fan well enough with their playoff format. And that's what the Canadian Premier League again needs to stay away from. Point number 7, it'll make the league unique and draw new fans. Now by this I mean that the league will stand out because it'll be the only professional league in Canada, and maybe even in North America really, that is a single table format. There is no playoffs, and therefore when you get the new fans that they're going to hopefully draw, these fans who are used to watching the NHL where there's a regular season and the playoffs, or the CFL or the NFL where there's a regular season and playoffs, they'll now see this new league coming in that doesn't have a playoff, and that might intrigue them, and they might see it and might see it's a different cup of tea, and they might actually take to it and follow it. And this is a good thing, and I think this having a single table will help the league stand out against all these other leagues that they're now competing for market value. Number 8, ownership support. Now by this point I mean the owners, if they have a single table format, it might kind of show them that if they put in the money and the hard work into their clubs, that they could get rewarded by finishing first place. And if it does turn into a playoff league, that certainty of if you put the money into the club you won't win kind of thing kind of kicks in, because in the playoffs anything can happen. Any team could beat any club out there. So if you have a single table format, it will show that if you spend the money on better quality players and better quality coaches, that you will see results, and therefore you will be rewarded by winning the title. And that's what I mean by point number 8. Number 9, competitive matches. Now with this, if it's a single table, that means every single match will count. Usually when it's the playoffs, you see a team toward the end of the season, once they have clinched a playoff spot, they kind of let the foot off the pedal kind of thing, and they kind of drift off in the rest of the regular season. Those matches don't really matter anymore to them, and they don't really care, and therefore those matches aren't competitive enough and they're not entertaining enough. And that's what you want, is entertaining matches to draw people in, to make more money, to be successful as a business and as a league. And the Canadian Premier League need to have a single table format. Therefore every single match will actually mean something, all the way down to pretty much the last 3 or 4 matches probably of the year, because every team will have a shot. As long as you keep winning matches and getting those points, you'll rise up the table and potentially finish first place and win it. Therefore every match most likely will be more competitive toward the end of the year than if it was a playoff format. Number 10, promotion relegation. Now with this one, this is kind of a little bit down the line in the future, but in about 10 or so years, the league is planning on potentially expanding enough that they'll have a second and hopefully down the line after that, a third division of professional soccer in Canada. Therefore, they want to install what's called promotion relegation. So essentially the team or top 2 or 3 teams in the second division that finish in top 1, 2, and 3 seed will then get to jump up to Division 1 league, and in exchange the bottom 2 or 3 clubs in Division 1 will then fall down to Division 2 league for the following season. So in order to do this, the easiest to do it in the most simplest way is to have a single table format. Therefore, you already know that whoever finishes, let's say 20th and 19th and 18th, like you see in the Premier League, you already know those 3 teams will go down to Division 2 the following year. So in the future, when promotion relegation will come into effect, having a single table format will just make it a lot simpler and easier for the supporters to follow. Hey guys, that was my video about my 10 reasons why the league shouldn't have playoffs and instead just focus on having a simple single table format. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think there should be playoffs? Do you think there shouldn't be playoffs? Let me know below. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see more content just like this about the Canadian Premier League, maybe consider hitting that red subscribe button. And of course, if you hit that bell notification beside it, you get notified each and every week when I drop a brand new episode just like this one. So until next week, thank you for your support, and I'll see you later.